Just saw a picture of something a few minutes ago. It talks about where this planet might actually be right now. The interesting part of it is how to pull a planet back away from the sun into retrospect of where it is in its position. Now, a lot of people are like, why don't you just use the hauler to keep pulling it back? One, the rockets on that hauler are very, very expensive. You're not talking um, a single rocket you use to get a shuttle up. You're talking about a rocket that is almost half a mile. Actually, I won't say half a mile. It's an eighth of a mile wide. And to perspective of how big this hauler is. Now, there's been quite a few speculations about how close, how far, this, that, and the other thing, and what it's like in travel. Well, in travel, the 2 year training that we normally do is we take your whole entire life. The first 6 months, we rip your life apart from your age to see if you're even worthy of going anywhere near one of the more prospective planets that we normally take people to. And the reason of it is, if you look at the movies and music, we have a constant conflict between people getting this weird and odd feeling that the movie and music industry is actually running this country. Now, like I told you in previous videos, that I know a lot more than what a standard person does on a single planet, and I think you know why. TSA was an idea of mine back in 1987. Retrospect of TAA's accident, which was an airplane exploded in mid-flight, killing 16, killing all its passengers, but killing 16 people that belonged in Europe, and the fact of the U.S. running a secret op underneath, and that was not an accident. Like I said, I get information from a different source. I do not rely on FBI or CIA intelligence, and the reason of it is FBI is pretty good at what it does until you get down to certain agents. A certain part of their agents take payoffs in different ways, mainly currency. CIA administration, you have quite a few administrators up in your upper part that, I'll be honest with you, lately I don't even think the CIA exists. I think it's just a bunch of dumb people sitting there thinking they know what they're doing. Because you don't ever hear anything about, oh, the CIA went in and busted Google for changing people's phone numbers on their accounts, or false information of a hacker, because the FBI, even though they have the authority to arrest a hacker, it's the CIA's job to go in and arrest them. It's not the CIA's job to point fingers. That's pretty simple. The CIA and the Secret Service, normally when you see the Secret Service, you'll see quite a few CIA agents. But if you see Secret Service and FBI, that means the CIA no longer exists. Anyway, like I said, to get back to the topic, that's roughly where this planet is right now, give or take. This actual position. I do have a way to operate that hauler without ever taking a space shuttle up and taking it for a ride, so that people see it. pretty much you're feeling a lot of cold air right now. Difference of it is I didn't use the hauler. I used solar induction to eliminate a few ozone missiles that you sent up in 2013, where you sent 4 ozone missiles up in 4 different directions. Ozone is kind of like standing in a sauna if you implement too much of it into the upper atmosphere. It's kind of like taking you take the world globe, and you take your bed sheet, a thin bed sheet, and put it over top, wrap it up. Okay, so now we got protection from the sun. Then when you send off 4 missiles into the upper atmosphere, too much into a jet stream or too much into another current airwave, instead of sending it up beyond the current airwave to actually explode correctly. Because when you actually put ozone in, when it explodes, you'll see the upper ozone actually light up. And when it lights up, that means that you hit the actual ozone layer, therefore replenishing it. And it does take more than 4 missiles, and it does take more than hitting it at over 120,000 feet of altitude. Give or take your measurement chart. Because if you just send a missile up and blow it up in a cloud structure, all you're going to do is piss everyone off. Because you're going to put ozone out there where you don't want it. And it's just like a magnifying effect if you use too much. So where you use solar induction heat is where you just simply fire a rocket up, a few incinerators, missiles into the ozone to thin out any mess ups that they do. So if you fire a ozone missile at, say, 65,000 feet, and as it's flying, it emits ozone and whatnot. But if it's emitting liquid, then you're emitting pretty much a waste of ozone. It has to be a gaseous form to a certain point. Like I said, the last one that they fired off in, what was it? Fired one off in 1992. And that one was fired off 20 different rockets and straight up, and they exploded, I believe, at 145,000. Altitude was 145,000. And they said that they saw the outer atmosphere light up, which is good, except I believe the space station's running at 385,000 in altitude. But anyway, you gotta be careful, because you hit the space station, it'll blow it the hell up. I mean, that has so much oxygen pressure that it would just incinerate it. So, anyway, it's gotten to my attention through a few intelligence services that California thinks that it's so-called going in. There's a place in the U.S. called the Land of the Lost. It resides between partially California and Nevada and Colorado. It was an outlawed area for any person that was dedicated as a human, which most of you aren't human. You're just a person. But anyway, they were claiming that their science was so advanced technology. You guys don't even have anything close to advanced technology. And when you can make a laser, take a laser, and you can put a triangular, and it looks like diamond, but it's actually quartz. And what it is you take and you soften up quartz, and you stick a computer chip inside a quartz diamond, and and this computer chip has 3 different or 5 different prong locations. And how it works is, as you soften the diamond up, you create these little narrow passages through. Use if you ever been into a cosmetic store where they sell some really like $90 cosmetics, so you get your $90 blush, or you can go to Giant food store has these. You look on the back and you'll see this, little patch, which is called a circuit board. Or if you ever ripped it off, because they normally rip them off as soon as you walk out of the store. You take them off and you'll see what looks like a circuit board. It's called a liquidity chip, even though it's more of a circuit board than anything. And you have a tiny dot battery in it, and that's the only thing that powers it up. And what happens is electricity runs around, and it goes through a tiny mini micro chip using the circuit board technology. So when you walk out those doors and that frequency hits it, that the cosmetic, like I said, they call this thing a chip. It's not a chip. Hits those sensors through radio waves or receivers, not radio waves. It actually emits a radio wave. Unless the girl deactivates it by magnetizing it, then if it's magnetized, it won't go off. If it's not magnetized, it'll go off. I tell them just to take it back off the product and use a lot less 3M sticky glue. But anyway, as far as some of this technology that they have out in California, Nevada, Colorado, that was the stuff I just left behind. A lot of different planets aren't ready for that type of technology. Computers, this planet never had computers. It was an abandoned planet. I had what they referred to as Purple MRSA on this planet. It had a induction ring, which, if you actually watch, there's a movie out on YouTube where you see this guy. They have this ring, and they think it's a bad thing. It's a weapon. No, it's what they actually use to move a planet. So this godly, awful, expensive ring gets put on a planet. Everyone's evacuated, and through a form of high-end magnetics, if you take 10 nickels and you stack them, and you got to imagine that there's a hole in those nickels and whatnot, because the spaceship that actually has a link to this thing is never around when it goes off. And what happens is using magnets and making false gravity, you can actually move a planet backwards or forwards or sideways. Anyway, these magnets just make the planet drift out. When it's beyond a black hole, it works the best, because you can actually move this planet from one ring to another ring to another ring to another ring to another ring, and move it around in space. Inside this solar system, I'd probably need 8 rings on this planet to actually get it up out of this solar system. But certain people came to me and said that a few people, some celebrities in movies came out and started bashing people off on the East Coast, where some of them may or not have deserved it. Sigourney Weaver came out and pretty much said I was lying. She's not from this planet. A lot of you ain't from this planet. And whatnot. When it comes down to where a lot of you are from, we'd have to go back to 1955. And even though I was born in 1977, that should tell you something. Yeah, let it sink in for a little bit. It takes a little while for Californians to use their brain with all that forged printing press money from old printing presses, plates. Because there was a set of plates up in the Arctic that were U.S., well, not U.S., but they were European military from the USSR plates in an abandoned shack underneath the ground. You had to flip up the board, and underneath there was a steel box with these plates in it. Told you, my intelligence is a heck of a lot better than USA's intelligence. But anyway, what was it? A few people, a girl from blonde from Coyote Ugly said I was lying about all this and that. Sigourney Weaver kind of backed it up. And a few other people until I came out and proved it back in 1989 and brought one part of the spacecraft into the upper atmosphere in 1993. Where it hovered over Pennsylvania and then went back down into South America, where it's supposed to be. It's actually supposed to be in the Arctic, but it gets a little too cold down there. A little harder to get it to move. As far as putting a new pilot in, that was the other rumor that flew around. And intelligence was talking about is why are they trying to find a new pilot for this hauler? You guys will not be finding a new pilot. That is biologically encoded. It also requires 4 other things to actually get it to move. It is what I call secure safe. Unless you know what I know, you're not going to get it to move. And trying to use shuttle technology from the NASA would be really stupid to use, because you'll probably end up blasting yourself right into the sun, because it's aimed at the sun in its direction, therefore allowing no one to actually move it unless you know what you're doing, because it doesn't have, it's not like a vehicle. You don't go from park to reverse, then into drive. It's not stick shift. You don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then reverse, unless you're driving a Lamborghini, which has between 6 to 8 gears now. But also in the land of the lost, and this is something the Californians didn't know, a lot of East Coast people didn't know, there was a lot of alive artifacts. And on different planets, people can survive inside a single object without actually implementing themselves into the object. When you heard me talking about the knife on the other video, if you watched all the videos, you would know that one thing. You see a ceramic pot with what you hear mentally, and you think it's talking, it might just be talking. There's different species other than a person. There's different species other than human. As far as extraterrestrials, give or take what planet you're on and whatnot, as far as Stark Enterprises, and the little midget runs around with a goatee, thinks he can get any girl in the world and whatnot. He just got his attitude cooled down coming back from Saudi Arabia. He wanted to learn how to build a bomb. Plus, needed a lesson taught to him. Now, knowing what you know, as far as New York, Einstein, all that, Einstein wasn't really much of a genius, as much of a dreamer than anything. And half of his inventions, as well as all the rest of them, didn't work. So, like I said, some of these people that are here are new. And when I refer new, it doesn't mean that they're not 99 years old. It just means they're new to a modern society. Because on most planets, you might as well take your keys to your Honda, to your BMW, even to your Lamborghini, and throw them out the door, because they're still somewhat into non-modern societies, meaning horseback or something similar to horseback. As far as a form of transportation, a lot of them use their feet and whatnot. As far as a lot of things, you're probably having a little bit of what they call mental lag. And when I say mental lag, some of you are sitting there and you're going about your daily life and whatnot, and all of a sudden it seems like you woke up. Like I told Sigourney Weaver, and like I told a lot of other people, even Cuervo, even though I know it's an alcoholic drink, it's the guy who started on Cuervo, that you just don't mess with someone's mind because you want to test a new device out. One of the devices is a mind reading machine that I have a very, very big problem with and whatnot, because it, depending on the principle of it, the one mind reading machine, as they refer to it, that could read your thoughts, actually destroyed the integrity of the human brain, as well as the sternum of the rear neck. Not sternum, later is. And you call it a spinal cord. I call it a cerebellum, because that's how I know of it, and whatnot. As far as poking needles around in someone's spine to paralyze them is pretty stupid. You can actually, I'm talking about when they stick a needle in and numb you, as they refer to it. As far as messing with people in subliminal, it's outlawed. It's been outlawed on this planet. That's why they referred to it as a lockdown planet. Just as 2 weeks ago came out of lockdown state. The reason for locking down a planet is, one, it is very, very simple. And that's a simple part of being simple is trying to get people ready to evacuate this planet. Now, if you don't believe me that this planet's getting closer to the sun, well, then you can stay here and you can become that toasted marshmallow. So just take the marshmallow, put it on the stick, and stick it in the fireplace and just freaking leave it, because by the time you're done, it's going to be nothing but crumbs. As far as messing with other people that tend to believe this, I'll just leave them alone. Because I'm not someone to be trifled. Especially with a bunch of idiots that are overpaid, that have to have their movies and music so they feel like they're a person, or that they have recognition in society, which is also referred to as insanity, or a person who's insane that needs constant attention. It's one thing to be female and need constant attention because you're pregnant. It's another thing that when you need other people, such as even Avril, who claims to be able to move people's feelings around with inside themselves. You start messing with people, I'll start messing with you. And trust me, I know ways more than just moving feelings around that is not only intimidating, but it's the fact of what I know, that I can actually set you outside yourself, stick someone else inside you, and you can sit there and cry your little ass off while you sit in a chair and you can't move as someone else takes your body and walks out that freaking door. So, as far as you celebrities, you might want to wake up, because if you don't, you're going to miss a ride. But then again, maybe you murdered someone. Maybe you're just trying to cover that up. I don't tolerate people. I don't tolerate dictators. I don't tolerate wannabe business presidents sitting in places where they shouldn't be sitting. I don't tolerate Putin. You can ask Putin that. I don't tolerate him either. I don't have to tolerate him. I don't have to tolerate China's emperor or dictator. I don't have to be happy-go-getty, or a happy person. I have a job to do. Let me do my job and leave me the hell alone. Otherwise, I'll call another transport, because there is another transport coming here, which will be here in about 1 year. And trust me, it's a prison transport. You want to run your mouth? Think you're a big shot? I'll put you on the prison transport. And that is not a happy-go-lucky place, trust me. They'll put you all the way out. And if you come back and try to do out of body or some type of spiritual bullshit within the religion, or within Caucasia, which is often referred to as Europia, the practice of Europia. They'll take care of you, yeah. They'll take you, pack you up, put you in the airlock, and just throw you right out the freaking ship. You gotta understand, when you're in space, you don't screw around. As far as on my spaceship, you toe the line, or you end up on the prison spaceship. You end up on the prison spaceship, you cause or try to dismantle a spaceship, we'll kick you the heck out the spaceship. That's one of the rules in the universe. As far as this universe, it ain't nothing compared to what I've been to. You guys break more rules than anyone else I've ever seen. You break more laws than anyone else I've ever seen. A lot of those movies back from 1960 to current day have real murders on them. And yet you say, oh, it's just some, it's a blood pack. A lot of those movies have British Interpol, KGB, and the Kremlin sitting there in the director's seat. That's how I know this. Anyway, good night.